Well, that music can only mean one thing. It is time once again for the exclusive film and video report. James Rana is not with us this week. Instead, sitting across from me at this very moment in time. Here she is in multi-layers. It's Rachel. She's very deep.
And when you say multi-layers...
Just top half. That's what I mean. But we are talking about one of your favorite subjects, which would be the Brady Bunch. Now, we've talked about this before, you and I.
Yeah, I thought it was one of our favorite subjects.
Well, maybe a little more yours than mine. No, I know. I certainly grew up watching the Brady Bunch and know everything about it. And in fact, I follow Susan Olsen on Facebook. There you are.
You do.
Yeah, she's quite the clever gal. And also Jerry Rochelle, who was the fake Jan in the Brady Bunch Variety Hour. We focused last time on the TV series, of course.
We did.
But there were movies that came along in the 1990s that were parody movies of the Brady Bunch.
And boy, did we need those.
We did. And I'll tell you this, we should briefly mention that the other incarnations of the Brady Bunch, there was the Brady Bunch cartoon show. I think they were a band, much like the Archies. It might have been Filmation, same studio. And I don't think the parents were involved. It was just the kids, and I think they had, for some reason, 2 dancing pandas. That's what I remember. But then there was a revival of the Brady Bunch called The Brady Bunch Get Married. It was the Brady Girls Get Married.
Right, everybody grown up now.
Right, it was a TV movie with Jan and Marcia both getting married. And that spun off into a short-lived series called The Brady Brides in 1981. Didn't last very long. Then they came back with A Very Brady Christmas, which was a TV movie that reunited the family. Huge ratings bonanza. Jennifer Runyon played the part of Cindy because Susan Olsen was unavailable for that.
Right.
And then 30-something was all the rage in the late 80s, so they decided, let's bring the Bradys back, but let's do it like 30-something. So they just called it the Bradys. They were no longer the Bunch.
Right.
They were just the Bradys. Bobby was in a wheelchair. I mean, just why would you put Bobby in a wheelchair? I mean, seriously.
I know what will make it a hit.
Yeah. Let's hurt them all. Let's harm them. I think Alice may have had leprosy. I don't know, but it was not a successful incarnation. Then a few years went by, and a funny thing happened out in Los Angeles. On the, I guess, the Los Angeles equivalent of Off-Broadway, there was a revival, not a revival, but a parody stage show of the Brady Bunch.
I want to do that.
And yeah, you want to do that. I think you need to find another show. If we do a parody version of...
How come I never get to do a parody?
There, see? This is
How
what
come
it all...
I never get to do a stage show?
That's the reason we're doing this. But I think we should do a parody version of the Partridge Family so you can fulfill your lifelong dream to be Tracy.
Well, I do that in my band.
Right, you just sit there with the tambourine and...
Well, not exactly.
You contribute a little more than Tracy did.
Well, no, I sing.
Yeah, exactly. Well, Tracy sang.
Well, yeah.
Sure she did. Yeah. But, so these, this...
Hey, I also play castanets, you know.
So this L.A. Stage adaptation of the Brady Bunch, huge hit, like an underground ironic sort of hit. Like, it was the right time. You know, it was the 90s where, you know, and if you were part of Generation X, you were weaned on the Brady Bunch. You knew it so well.
We were ready to make fun of it / embrace it.
Right, exactly. And that's exactly what happened. And it was so successful that Sherwood Schwartz said, hey, you know what? Maybe we could put this thing in a movie. And sure enough, they did. I believe it was 1997, the Brady Bunch movie, which was a huge hit. Of course, some of the original cast returned as in cameo parts. Mm-hmm. Ann B. Davis played a truck driver, and I don't think the real Jan appeared in it, but Florence Henderson was in it at the end. But it was a...
That's because they didn't even ask me.
Oh, see?
And it's just not fair.
You need an exorcist. That's what you need. But I think the smarts of that, the brilliance of that movie was the fact that they kept the Brady Bunch locked in the 70s, except the 90s happened all around them.
Oh, I love those types of movies.
Right, so everything, their next-door neighbors, Michael McKean played their next-door neighbor. It was 1997 in his world. But in the Brady Bunch world, it was the 70s.
Reminds me of that movie with Alicia Silverstone.
Blast from Your Past,
Blast
right?
from the
Blast from the
Blast
Past.
from the Past.
So,
and Brendan Fraser.
So what happened...
Chris Walken
yes,
and Sissy Spacek.
Of course, I saw that movie. Yes. So, but I like that because in a way that was sort of wish fulfillment for me. Because I kind of wish that if I owned my own house, which I don't, friends, but if I did, I would have a very 70s kind of house. I would insist
you probably would.
that it was 1973.
Shag carpeting.
Exactly. Wood paneling, a lot of that. So
Polyester bedspreads.
and who? You remember the actress who played Marcia in that movie, in the Brady Bunch movie? It was Christine Taylor.
That's right.
Who later married Ben Stiller.
I liked her very much so.
I think, what was that, like Marilyn Monroe coming out of you? I think that
I liked her very much so.
as much as people do impersonations of Marcia, and Marcia became a iconic character that people impersonate, I really think that most of the time they're actually doing Christine Taylor. I think that a lot of people saw that movie and they said, "Oh, that's how you do that impersonation."
Well, it depends on the age of the person.
Right. But I think even then it was, people thought she nailed it. Like she did such a good job. Now I know you're seething with jealousy right now because you, of course, also do your Marcia impersonation.
No, I welcome all Marcia impersonations.
But, she was very, very successful. In fact, the film was so successful that it led to a sequel, which was called A Very Brady Sequel. I should mention, before we get into that, the Brady Bunch movie incorporated aspects of the TV show, familiar aspects, the thing with they throw the ball at Marcia and it hits her in the nose. Oh, my nose, that bit.
No, I'll never be a teen model.
Right, exactly. And in Very Brady Sequel, it was, I believe, Hawaii. Didn't they go to Hawaii in that? It was the Tiki God episode they did. I
guess I should have brushed up on this.
You should have. Carol Brady's husband, before she married Mike,
I don't even brush my hair.
Came back. Well, that's very un-Marcia of you. He came back. It turns out she thought he was dead. He wasn't dead, but it was an imposter pretending to be her husband.
That's right.
And he was smuggling drugs. And I remember there was a scene where he had mushrooms, and Alice found them and thought they would be good in the spaghetti sauce.
With which to cook.
Right, and then he had a psychedelic fantasy where we saw the cartoon version of the Brady Bunch from the 70s. He was like, "Oh my God, I'm tripping with the Bradys." That movie, not as successful as the
but
previous
still appreciated.
film. But still appreciated. I had a great time watching the movie. In fact,
As did I.
At the very end, they brought in a little blonde kid, and they said, "Oh no, Cousin Oliver." Then
Jinx.
a third movie came along.
Wasn't he the Jinx?
Yes, of course. A third movie came along, and it was a TV movie because the second movie didn't do as well, so it became a TV movie. The Brady Bunch in the White House. Do you remember that? It was on Fox.
Not so much.
Now I think it still had Shelley Long, who of course had assumed the role of Carol Brady, but all new kids. So Christine Taylor didn't return. Christopher Barnes didn't return, who played Greg. And also, the girl who played Jan in that was really, really good. She didn't come back. It was all new kids. This one, not as successful. I think the movie was based on the episode where Jan mixed up the plans, Mike's plans, because
his architecture plans.
Right. I think she hit them with her
Disney
bike because of the glasses. She refused to wear her glasses. And
for
it was,
the picture, she
right.
wanted to wear glasses
And they recreated that. That was not as successful, but also around that same time, Barry Williams did his own movie, a Brady Bunch behind the scenes TV movie, which was an adaptation
how did I miss that?
Growing Up Brady, which was his book.
But that third movie you just mentioned,
here's the weird thing.
Too much of a challenge. That's like the third or fourth clone.
I do have it, but
remember how the fourth clone came out in Multiplicity?
I don't know what
with
you're
Michael
talking
Keaton.
about. Never saw it. Sorry.
Oh, you should.
I never saw it.
It's funny.
So, anyway,
people hated it, but I think it's funny.
Growing Up Brady, the TV movie, which I own, haven't watched yet, but I did see the end of it because at the end, the whole movie is about him and his romance with Maureen McCormick, for the most part.
Right.
She apparently not too happy about this movie. He's way exaggerating and embellishing what went on. At the end of the movie, there's a scene where a Maureen McCormick lookalike. He wanted Maureen at the very end to come in.
Oh no!
Into the yes, he wanted Maureen to come in at the very end of the movie, like he's walking around the set reminiscing,
right?
And the door would open, and it was supposed to be her.
So he got somebody to play.
He got somebody
Maureen
who looked like Maureen, not young like Maureen now.
That's
like he
pretty
got some,
silly.
and she does kind of look like her, but
Right.
you're like, oh, she's not quite. That's not really Maureen McCormick.
That's a little bit sad.
That was sad. That was sad.
I don't like to hear things.
And that's
like that.
kind of where the Brady's ended in terms of Brady Mania. Now,
oh no!
Oh yes, and there was Brady Bunch Home Movies, which is a TV special on Fox, which I also own, where it was Robert Reed had just died, and he took the kids on all these trips, and he had a Super 8 camera, and they filmed on the set, they filmed behind the scenes. I have that. Do you realize that I am I didn't even realize it now until we're having this conversation. I am a fountain of Bradiness. I have everything Brady's you can think of.
Well, maybe that's why at the beginning of the show when you said that this is my thing, I said, wait, I thought this was our thing.
All right, listen. We're done. I think we've covered the Bradys as much as
Well,
we
for
possibly
today.
For today, anyway. So there you go, a little look at the Brady Bunch movies, TV, and otherwise. And that's it for your exclusive film and video report.